Good morning. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Recharge, relax, reconnect, all of the good things that we need to do when we're working hard through the week. So hopefully get to spend some time with family and friends and get to recharge your battery, all of the good things. Let's give it a couple of minutes to see who all comes to hang out. I don't know what it's like where you are, but winter has returned where I am, and so I'm watching snowflakes out the window right now. So, if that's you, hopefully you got a cup of coffee and you've settled in, and hopefully we're going to be able to talk about some mindset stuff that will really help you in your work this week. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Mindset Monday, where independent patient advocates like us come together to kickstart our week with positivity and inspiration. I am Nicole Broadhurst, and I am really missing my co-host, Kayla Thompson Riviere. If you know Kayla, then I'm going to ask that you send out some healing vibes this morning. She's not feeling well, and so she's not able to be here today. So really, I miss her. It's not the same without her. However, the show must go on, and we will go ahead and kick off today. Let's dive in. Let's talk about inspiration and mindset. So, I really want to sit with something today. I want to reiterate something that I shared on our weekly Power Hour last week, and that is that structure is not rigidity, it is self respect operationalized. And I really want to unpack that statement because most advocates hear structure and immediately tense up. Like it feels restrictive, it feels corporate, it feels cold. I recognize and I resonate with all of that. But what we're actually resisting when we feel this way about structure isn't the structure itself, it's the fear of disappointing someone, right? We're afraid of disappointing someone. And when we avoid structure, we're not being flexible. We're not actually avoiding disappointing people. We're really leaving ourselves unprotected. Okay? Because structure is simply this. It's a visible expression of what you value. Structure is a visible expression of what you value. Okay. So if you value your time, then you create scheduling boundaries, right? And if you value your expertise, you define your scope. And if you value your work, then you're going to price it clearly. Do you see how this is shifting? Like structure is visible expression of what you value. Okay? When you value your time, you have scheduling boundaries. You see how this is working, right? All right. And it goes even deeper because listen, if you value your energy, which I'm going to tell you, that is one thing I value so much because I show up with so much energy. And I know you do too, right? When you're able. But if you value your energy, what would that visual expression be of valuing your energy? You know what it is? It's building repeatable systems. It's building repeatable systems, okay? Because when we value our energy, we build repeatable systems so that we can protect the energy that we have. All right. It's not rigidity. Literally, I need you to hear me say this. It is self respect in motion. When you set up structures that protect the things that you value, you are demonstrating the utmost self respect. All right. Let's go a little bit deeper about that because self-respect, it's internal, right? It's something that happens inside of us, but the structure that we create is external. I know you've heard me tell this story about, maybe not, about the we've had these Wednesday calls for a very long time, several years, right? And I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, at some point in these Wednesday calls, we started getting off topic and there was like lots of questions and like it was we ended up in a rabbit hole. Let me just put it that way. Okay. The whole call started out one place and ended up a million miles away. Okay. And after the call, somebody, one of my friends, one of my colleagues, might be one of you listening, watching today, called me on the phone and said, Nicole, you have got to get your stuff together. Like this is your call, you're managing it, and you looked really bad today because it was completely out of control and it was chaotic. Okay. And I took that to heart. I felt it, first of all. But I took it to heart and I built in, if you've ever attended a power hour, in the beginning, you're going to hear me say something along the lines of, I really value your time here and I'm not going to abuse your attendance. And so we're going to keep the focus on the topic of the call. And if you have something that you want to talk about outside of that, here's how you can go do that. Yeah, I see heads nodding. Okay. So if the reason that I did that is because it's structure, right? And I value that power hour time and I need for it to serve a very specific function for everybody, for me and for everybody who's attending. And in for order for me to do that, I needed to create some structure around it. But I was uncomfortable interrupting people because why? Because I was afraid I was going to disappoint some of the attendees by not letting them talk about some of the things that they wanted to talk about. Do you see what's happening here? And it got very unstructured, it got out of control, chaotic, right? Which was not good or productive for anyone. I implemented a simple guardrail, one sentence, actually it might be two, in the beginning of that call, so that it created the expectation that if we started to wander away from the topic of the call, I had a guardrail, right? I already set it up. I had a structure. I didn't have to think about it. It didn't cost me any energy. I just knew exactly what to do when it happened. I was protecting my energy. It's a repeatable system. All right. It is self-respect in motion. All right. Now remember, self-respect says something like, my work has value, right? Now, the structure that goes along with that to support that self respect that you have, the work that you do has value, right? Now, you need an external structure that demonstrates that. And it might be something like this. The structure says, here's how I deliver that value, right? So self respect says, the work that I do has value. And the structure says, here's how I deliver that value, right? So for me, on those calls on Wednesday, I know that I deliver value in those calls. And the way that I do that is helping us stay on topic so that you get what you need from the call. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's take another example here. Self-respect says something like, I deserve clarity, right? That's the internal self-respect statement that we're saying. I deserve clarity. Okay. The external structure says, here's the policy, right? I deserve clarity. Here's the policy. Same thing. Set the guardrail so that you don't have to think about it. It's just a natural progression. It's something that you do in your operations. What about this one? And I want you to really think about this because I say this to myself a lot. I am not going to collapse under pressure. I'm not. I'm not going to collapse under pressure, even though I totally want to fall apart under pressure. All right. But I'm not going to. Okay. So that's where I respect myself and I say, I'm not going to collapse under pressure. The structure to that, the external piece of that says, this is outside my scope. This is not something that I do, or this is not part of the service that you've purchased. Okay. I'm not going to collapse under pressure. People put pressure on me all the time to do things that are outside of my scope or just outside of the service agreement that we have in place. Okay. Clients can do that unintentionally, but it can happen, right? So making sure you have some sort of scope, service scope, practice scope, all of those things. The bottom line is this, that without structure, Your self-respect stays theoretical. It stays inside. Like you have self-respect, but you're not demonstrating it to the world, right? There's a phrase, and I know we've all heard this, and honestly, I don't, I get cringeworthy when I hear these little things, but we teach people how to treat us. So if we have self-respect, but we're not demonstrating it on the outside or showing people how to demonstrate their respect for us, then it gets really ugly and convoluted and chaotic, right? So remember, without structure, self-respect stays internal and totally in theory and theoretical, okay? But when we put some structure around it, then this self-respect that we feel about ourselves and we say about ourselves, now all of a sudden it manifests in the external world, right? So this is the place where I see most advocates start to struggle because everybody's been trained to equate professionalism with availability. Like, I've got all this availability. You have probably maybe even been conditioned to believe that your responsiveness is what determines your level of commitment to your clients. I certainly hope not, but I will tell you that this is something that I see regularly. That if you are more responsive to your clients, more available for your clients, then somehow you have a higher level of commitment to them. Okay. I don't think that's true. I think you can have an exponentially high commitment to your clients and not have to be available 24/7. I mean, but if you are available 24/7, because there are situations, then make sure you're getting paid for it. That's a whole other conversation. I also think that this happens because in our society, it is not uncommon for you to get praised for overextending yourself. Who's ever done that? Like overextending, like there's some sort of, I don't know, gold star or medal or award for overextending and working yourself to exhaustion. That is not a thing. Like we don't believe that here in this professional environment. We believe that burnout is not a badge of honor, right? Regardless of what society says or what others say. It's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and all of those things. Um, but I'm here to tell you that as a CEO, you do not have to prove your commitment through exhaustion. Okay. I want you to prove it through consistency. I want you to prove it through structure. I want you to prove it through repeatable systems in your daily operations that protect your energy, that protect your time, that protect your expertise. You deserve that. You have spent a long time becoming an expert, a professional in the area that you practice, and you deserve the respect of that professionalism. And I promise you, it shows up when you externalize it through structures and systems. All right. So maybe we can talk about some of the things that, what can you do, right, to operationalize the self-respect that you have about the work that you do. All right. I want to talk about some things like scope. That's the first thing I want to talk about. If your services are not clearly defined in writing somewhere, okay, it doesn't even have to be publicly, but it needs to be written down somewhere, if for no other reason, so that you can see it in black and white, right? Then if you don't have that, I'm telling you that is silent pressure that is going to build and cause you problems. All right. So make sure that you're defining your services clearly. All right. What that is, what it includes, and there's lots of things, what it includes, what it doesn't include, and then how long this timing, right? The second place that you can operationalize this thing that we're talking about is inside of your pricing, right? We've talked a lot about that recently. If you are somebody who's adjusting your pricing inside of conversations, literally mid conversation, you are, you know, adjusting pricing, then you, my friend, are negotiating your worth in real time. Please do not do that. Please do not do that because that whittles away at the self-respect that you already feel inside. I am worth this. This is the value that I bring, and my pricing is going to reflect it. All right. So I want you to set your pricing in advance. I want you to stand by it, refine it as needed based on data, not emotion. That's a whole nother conversation, right? But these are the places where you can literally develop systems. Scoping, packaging your service, that's a system that you can implement that will operationalize and demonstrate the value you bring and your professionalism. Okay. Pricing, that's the second system that I see every advocate need. Listen, these literally are the first three systems that I recommend every advocate build inside of their practice. Scope, which is packaging, pricing, and then communication boundaries. Again, make sure you've got some boundaries around that. And then decision frameworks. Like when something unexpected happens, what is your framework that you're going to do, right? Do you have a checklist? Do you have criteria? Do you have standards? Listen, all of this is structure. All right. It's all structure. And I want you to know that when you create structure around what you're doing, you're not limiting your services. You're not limiting what you're doing for clients. You are protecting your ability to serve them to the best of your ability, right? Like you're protecting all of the things. And when you operate without that structure, you're overextended, you're burned out, your professionalism weakens. And listen, not just your professionalism weakens, but when you show up in that state of mind for your clients, remember, you may be the only professional advocate that they have ever been exposed to. So remember, you're carrying not just the weight of your practice, but you're carrying the vision of our entire profession. All right. And it's your responsibility to show up with that professionalism. Get some structure around what you're doing. Protect yourself. Demonstrate that you respect yourself and the profession that you are working in. All right. Self-respect, operationalize, protects your sustainability as a practice, right? It allows you to do the things that you need to do without getting burned out, without being exhausted, without being available 24/7, all of those things. And I really want to say this very clearly because I truly believe this. You cannot build an independent, client-funded practice on your personality alone. Okay. At some point, your personality is going to break, but standards don't. All of these systems that we're talking about, repeating those, building that into your operational, it's steady. Okay. You don't have to rely on your personality. You don't have to rely on your charisma or your ability to sell yourself. That's a whole other conversation. But you can show up with confidence because you have the systems and the structures in place that demonstrate the beliefs and the values that you carry into your practice. And you can have a bad day because you already have the structure set up. Okay. I'm going to tell you one of the things it's important that we talk about. There are times when I wake up in the morning and I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not. Like, I'm wondering, maybe I should just get a W-2. Maybe I should just punch a clock, go back to it would be so much easier because why? Because these systems and the structure and all this stuff, it's already set up. I don't have to do it. Somebody's already done it. I just show up and work by the rules, right? This is what keeps you going on those days when you want to quit. Because even on the days that I wake up and I don't want to be doing what I'm doing, I have a system. I have a system and it can override my feelings in the moment. There's lots of Mondays that I wake up and I'm like, "Ah, I don't even know if I want to do Mindset Monday today. I got other things to do. But there's a system. There's a system that I have set up. So when I get up and I'm having my coffee and thinking, I don't want to do this, I know exactly where to click. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly where to show up. All right. So again, it protects all of these things. All right. So my question and my challenge to you today is where are you relying on goodwill in your practice instead of structure? Where are you hoping that your clients understand instead of clearly defining the expectations for your clients? Because what we're talking about here, this is your leadership edge. All right. So this week, I want you to pick one area that I just talked about, not five, not all of them. I want you to pick one. Pricing or scope, which is packaging, scope or package your services. Pricing, communication, or decision making. Those are the four areas. You can go look at your scope, your service scope, right? The packages that you offer, the pricing of your offers, the communication expectations that you're setting for your clients, and or your decision making frameworks that you have inside of your practice. You can pick one of those four areas, and I want you to write the structure for it. Literally put it in writing. Okay, so you can type it since we're on a laptop and digital world. That's totally fine. If you're like me, I want a hard copy paper. I just write it. But anyway, I want you to get it in black and white so that you can see it in front of you. Because the clarity of what we're talking about here isn't a feeling. Okay, it's not a feeling. It is an implementation. Like you take the action, okay? Structure is not rigidity, okay? And when you can embrace that and you understand that the structure is literally how you are showing the world the respect you have for what you do and how you do it, that is when you're going to start operating like the professional you are. All right. Perfect. Okay. So if this resonates with you, the next step is not more thinking, it's not more reflection, it is operational clarity. All right. So if you are interested in operational clarity, I want you to go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are Patient Advocate CEO on YouTube. This week, I'm going to walk you through how this structure shows up in flat fee designs and your scope control. Okay. And don't forget, we do the weekly advocacy power hour every single week. Because clarity does not come from thinking longer, it comes from structuring better. All right, remember, this week, your challenge is where in your practice are you still relying on hopeful understanding instead of structure? I want you to name it when one of those four areas, and I want you to write it down because that is where this week's leadership decision lives. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.